Hi there. Welcome to Lunch with a Life Coach. I'm Deanna, certified life coach and fitness professional. And today I want to touch on something and provide a couple of ideas of how to help a friend or a family member. And what I mean by that is over the years, when I'm working with folks in different capacities, maybe personal training or students that I'm teaching, etc., oftentimes there is a kind of an informal conversation of asking for advice and how to approach a challenge they're having with a family member. Or, how do my friend asked me about this goal they're working on and I don't know how to support them. And what I thought was, I wanted to share some ideas. And so while life coaching is not about giving advice, that's first and foremost for us to make sure that we understand. It is not giving you advice on what you should do or not do. And from a coach approach, I'm going to provide for you today a couple of questions that you could consider using if you are trying to support a friend. So let's say your friend is thinking about leaving their job and they would like to find a new job, changing careers, for example. And so this type of thing comes up. It's one of the reasons people reach out to coaches is because there's always a bias. When I ask a friend, a family member, though your friend and family member want the best for you, or you want the best for your friend or your family member, there is a bias inherently because we nudge based on what we think they should do, right? So if you are supporting your adult child yes, adult, and they're still our kids even when they're adults, right? But they're thinking about making a life decision. I know that you're supporting them in what you think is best and you want the best for them. And there's a bias in what you think is best for them. So this is where we start. If you have had that thought of, if somebody's struggling with something, I'd really love to be able to support them. And think about a coach approach. So again, it's not giving advice. It's not telling you what I think you should do as your coach. It is asking good questions to help you move towards decision. So a couple of things for you to think about. I've got 5 or 6 pieces for you to think about. Number one, you're supporting that friend, that family member. I want you to make sure that you have the self-awareness to say, I might be giving advice based on what I think they should do. Should they pursue this relationship? Oh yeah, I've noticed that they've been lonely and I want the best for them. I don't want them to be lonely. So I think that I should nudge them towards pursuing that relationship. That is advice. That is not a coach approach. So 1, self-awareness so that you are asking good questions to support decision-making, not nudging them to what you think they should do. Okay. Second, one of the things, so you may or may not know, I have adult children, and over the years have had, many different challenges as life goes and as parenting goes and all the things. And a practitioner once said to me, the relationship and the situation that a parent and child are in, now I'm not talking necessarily, but a little one, but when somebody's at a decision-making point, when somebody's struggling with something, it is not about us meaning the parent, trying to win, accomplish a certain outcome, making them do what you think they should do. It is about the relationship. This is again where the self-awareness comes in. One of the statements that resonates in my head often, it is not the outcome, it's the relationship. So have the self-awareness to make sure that you're not pushing them and nudging towards and trying to convince them of this decision that you think is right. And to note, it's not the outcome, right? It's not that, I think they should go back to school, so I better nag and push until they do that. But is that what they wanted? You may have sacrificed the relationship to try to get the outcome that you think again, right? So it is one of those pieces to say, what do I do here? I support, ask good questions. I'm going to give you a couple examples of questions. And remember, you're trying to maintain this relationship with your friend, your family member, child, whoever it is we're talking about. And so we want to really think about what are some of those coach approach neutral questions I might be able to ask. So here's one of the things you could actually start the conversation with is if a friend says, oh my gosh, I am struggling at work. I don't like my boss. My team is blah, blah, blah. And they're sort of having a moment, right? We all have those moments. One of the first questions I want you to ask is, do you just want to vent? Do you want me to listen? Do you just want me to like make the tea and be like, yeah, tell me? Or do you want to strategize and work on questions? And do you want me to pull out some or toss out some solutions, right? What is it that they want from you in that time? Because automatically what happens if you're somebody that's like a fixer, right? And you want to take action, you're like, oh, do this, do that. Maybe they just needed you to listen. So not the outcome. It's the relationship. It's keeping that relationship with your friend that maybe in the moment just needed somebody to listen. So ask, do you want me to listen? Am I making the tea? Am I like in here to say, yes, your boss is a jerk. I agree. That's not right. Or are you looking for sort of a sounding board that we can talk about what you can do, that you're looking for solutions, right? See where they want to be met. So what else can we do? Here's a couple of questions that I really want you to think about. First, validate. This isn't a question, but just to validate them, like they're challenged with their job or their another relationship or whatever situation they're struggling with. And while it might not be something that you struggle with, it might not be something that you recognize as that difficult, it doesn't matter. It isn't about you, it's about them. So to say, gosh, that sounds really hard, or oh, that does sound really hard. I've never experienced that. I didn't realize that was difficult, right? How can you validate? How can you continue the conversation going? How can you maintain the relationship? So use those validation tools. Oh, that does sound really difficult. Tell me more about that. What else, And then when we move to maybe your friend says, no, just want you to listen. So please just do that. Listen. It's hard. And if your friend's like, no, I need some strategy here. What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? Maybe to start, if it were me, I would, but I'm not nudging. I'm not saying you need to. If it were me, I would. And here are some questions. What do you want to do? What do you know you do not want? What has this situation helped you realize? So just some questions to get your friend, your family member to start to reflect on the situation. And they're very neutral questions from your end of things. I'm asking, what do you want? What do you not want? What have you learned? What are you now aware of you're not willing to put up with anymore? What are you now aware of you really want out of your career, for example? Okay. Couple of other things. There's a tool called the decision balance tool or decisional balance tools. It comes from a motivational interviewing technique. So if that's interesting to you, Google it. It's everywhere. You'll find it. But there's a couple questions in there. I want you to try two of the questions if it's something that you're wanting to dig into a little bit, is to ask your friend. So let's take the example, they're still looking to change jobs. And you can ask them to say, what would be the good thing? What would be really good? What would you look forward to about changing jobs? Make a list. Then after that list, give them time to think. I'm going through this quicker because you're not answering. And then make sure we give them some of that time to think. And then ask the second question. What would be the not so good thing? Because when we're in a sticky situation, as they say, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? And so we tend to romanticize another job, a new job, but maybe in fact, the person, maybe it's like working for somebody else 9 to 5 that they really don't want, like that's what's sucking their soul. And they actually need to find a different path, something more flexible, an entrepreneur, whatever the case might be. But if they're just kind of like, oh, it's just the job, and they might jump into another 9 to 5 kind of job, right? And they've got the same challenge. So to take a really important pause or step that you can nudge towards to say, what's the good thing about changing to a different job? What would be the not so good thing? Here are the next two questions that I'll leave you with. One is to say, what would be the not so good thing about staying right where you are? So if you didn't make this change, if you didn't look for another job, what would be the good thing about staying put? And what would be the not so good thing about staying put? Okay, so you see what we did? It's kind of the diagram is like on a little quadrant, like a foursquare. And so we talk about what's the good thing about the change. What's the not so good thing about the change? What's the good thing about staying the same? What's the good thing about staying put? What's the not so good thing about staying put? And leave your friend with that, and just to have those conversations, and then watch what happens though, because what then may happen is your friend might start to list, oh, this would be bad, and this would be, and then you're like, oh, and you're starting to add all those things from not the most self-aware position. And if you're not sure, ask your friend, oh, I have some thoughts, can I share? Right? That's one of those other pieces that we do in coaching as well. And so I'm not suggesting it appropriate to for a life coach to coach a friend. That is actually not something that we would do. But it is something when you're just trying to help a friend, you're trying to be that supportive person. There's some easy questions in there that you can ask them to really help them get moving. So what do you think? Do you think, and to be honest, you might actually hear some questions in there that you can do some self-coaching, because that can be really useful as well. As always, if you have other questions about life coaching topics, of course, send those, Deanna at deannalangfordcoaching.com. Anything fitness related, you know, I have another podcast, Find Your Fit with Deanna, same YouTube channel. You'll find it as well. If you have other fitness questions, send those in. And other than that, I wish you a great day. As always, cheering you on. See you soon.